First book up is Dark Knights of Steel. Do y'all remember this fucking shit? Because I don't. All right, so if you're not in the know, like a couple months back, DC went through some major fucking changes. They fired like the guy who was over DC Warner Brothers. Yeah, like they got rid of him. Then they canceled that fucking Batwoman movie. That was probably gonna be shit considering how shit the show was. It was to say, yeah, it's been like some months since we saw Dark Knights of Steel, right? This is one of the few DC books I was actually covering. I got Jurassic League before I got this shit right here, if you remember that. So I popped into the middle of this. I don't know what the fuck's going on, so I got to go back and read the next 2 issues. It'll come back next week. So fuck this book. So tonight's going to be an all Marvel night. And you're just in luck because I actually just saw something very heavily Marvel related really recently. So I think of these books, we're going to start with Venom. And this ties directly into the Spider-Man book this week. And Venom, we pick up after Eddie Brock had recently stabbed his son through the chest as Bedlam. And he knows that he's going to become Bedlam, but he's not Bedlam yet. He is still currently the version of the symbiote called Phineas. And it's like, if this is Greek to you, guess how it feels to me. This is like some fucking Stephen Moffat levels of Venom. Yeah, needless to say, we are getting all timey-wimey and displaced and shit again in this book. Hopefully it starts to coalesce here soon because, like I said, Stephen Moffat is a great writer when it's like a one-shot. Like, think Doctor Who's Don't Blink. That's a one-shot from Stephen Moffat. It's his damn near perfect episode. But once it's stretched out along many episodes, and then you get shit like the Pandorica opens or Silence Will Fall. Like it's like there's a lot going on. This is how this is starting to feel. Either way, the book ends with Venom being transposed to this completely separate dimension because he learns that time doesn't flow just backwards and forwards. It flows in quite a few different directions. He ends up in limbo, and he comes face to face with the Goblin Queen. And if you don't know, that's for you X-Men fans. Dark Phoenix Saga, Goblin Queen. Like, what do those two things have to do with each other? So, Jean Grey ended up becoming the Phoenix. And at first she was cool and everything, and she was human long enough and became Dark Phoenix because she saw the evil in men's hearts. Come to find out, Jean Grey was never dead. Instead, it was a completely different body that the Phoenix took on, and Jean Grey was in a cocoon at the bottom of Alkali Lake. Blah, blah, blah.
I do remember that.
30 years of fucking backstory later, come to find out that the person who they replaced Jean Grey with while she was still in a cocoon was Madeline Pryor, who was a clone, and that is also the mother of Cable. Blah, 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 blah. This person eventually falls out when Jean Grey comes back to life. Cyclops is like, well, I don't want you and this person that I had a child with. I'll go back and be with the real Jean Grey. This left Madeline Pryor all broken and confused, and she ends up going to hell and becomes the Goblin Queen. Anyway, so that's 30 years of comic history.
That's not convoluted in like... That's not 30 years wrapped up neatly.
He's such a bitch.
So crazy.
I like Cyclops because
he's a bitch.
At first, I didn't like Cyclops. I was more like the rugged rogue. I was more the Gambit and Wolverine fan. As I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate Cyclops a lot more because you need that stick up the ass dick to get shit actually fucking done. The cool guys aren't gonna get shit done. They're just gonna sulk and like fight each other.
I mean, you know who my favorite is?
Well, that's like when he was soft and.
Who's your favorite?
Storm.
Storm? Oh.
I was gonna say that's like when he was soft and Wolverine was rugged.
I thought you were a Kelsey Grammer fan. I guess this is Jeff.
I mean,
needless to say, Goblin Queen. She's in hell. She's literally the Goblin Queen. Takes me to my next book of the night, which is The Amazing Spider-Man. And where we last left off, Spider-Man was in a fucking shit show between the Ned Leeds Hobgoblin. If that name sounds familiar to you, that's because you've been watching the recent Spider-Man films. That is Tom Holland's best friend's character's name is Ned Leeds. Well, Ned Leeds appeared way before that. And like, it's weird because the movies kind of blend characters together from comics.
Yeah.
So, like, the version Ned Leeds you get in the movies is actually based off of Genki, which is like Miles Morales' best friend in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. And they just created a new character that would have filled the Harry Osborn role for Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Movies are confusing. Either way, Ned Leeds was the Hobgoblin, but come to find out, he wasn't the actual Hobgoblin when the character was introduced. It was actually a character called Roderick Kingsley, who had brainwashed Ned Leeds, who was a reporter, into being the Hobgoblin. Anyway, Spider-Man gets his fucking fade run by 2 Hobgoblins in this book, and come to find out, neither one is the fucking one responsible for it.
Right?
Yeah, so it's like, at first it's led to believe that Roderick Kingsley used the fucking MacGuffin device to brainwash Ned Leeds into being a Hobgoblin again, which he had done before. So I can understand it. It's like that whole, Hideo Kojima is he behind another Silent Hill game.
Yeah.
It's the same shit here. Well, no, it's neither. Because Roderick Kingsley was being used by the fucking character who appears in this book, the fucking Goblin Queen. So apparently, I gotta read a whole nother series called the fucking Dark Web to make sense of this whole fucking shit. Anyway, I see what you're trying to do, Marvel, not Hasbro. Hasbro, you got some other problems. Same fucking people.
But yeah.
I see what you're trying to do, but fuck you.
But it definitely, I love when they start to put the universe together.
Yeah, there's an event coming up that I'm still on the fence about covering, and it's Dark Web. But you find out like the events of Chasm, which I didn't really cover because that was at the tail end of Nick Spencer's. Mm-hmm. Well, not the tail end. Like Nick Spencer was pretty much open and shut thing, and then, like the Chasm thing was like the Spider-Man Beyond story, but I didn't cover Dark Reign. So because of that, like I feel like I need to cover Dark Reign, so I might do that as a special for you guys.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, and you got a Dark Reign at the Book Tavern. Thank you, David Hutchison.
We do.
Yes, so I might cover Dark Reign just so you can be in the loop about what's going on with Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is near and dear to my heart, but I gotta say, like, some of the recent writing, it's a bit dodgy. It's like, if you know me, you know I'm a stickler for making shit make sense.
You know, when stuff comes in and any of my coworkers think it's something that you might want, they just set it aside for me.
I might actually just like devote, like, eventually, like down the line, I'm gonna do like an hour-long special on Moon Knight, just to cover everything from A to B and why Moon Knight is so badass, and why it's like if you're expecting something better from the current Disney Marvel thing, don't. That brings me to my last book, which is Moon Noodles, my favorite. This is top book of the year, obviously, for me. Moon Knight, this picks up right where we had left off, where Moon Knight was going after Grand Mal and the other person who doesn't fucking matter. Grand Mal, obviously named after a fucking seizure. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Is that how he manifested?
Kind of. That's how it feels to me at this point. It's like, a lot of these fucking characters don't fucking matter, because the difference between, like, I love Spider-Man and Death, but Spider-Man is a half measure. Moon Knight is a full measure. And if you don't understand what that means in a comic book sense, it's like, think of it like this. Batman, for all his want and, purpose, he is a half measure. He captures his villains and throws them into prison. Characters like Moon Knight, Punisher, they kill their villains.
They just get rid of it.
They don't last. So it's like, it's really a villain of the week kind of deal. So it's like me trying to remember the people trying to kill Moon Knight a couple of issues ago. It really doesn't fucking matter, because they're not going to be around to
they're dead.
to leave a legacy. And that's why, like, full measures are way more popular. There's a reason why the Punisher is way more popular than Plastic Man.
Yeah.
Just saying, like, Black Adam's way more popular than Dr. Fate, because Black Adam kills people.
Isn't Black Adam like the same as Shazam?
Kinda, but not. Yes, but no, but also yes.
Yeah. See?
Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah. Full measures
Comics
are just
are
fucking
crazy.
cool. We like full measures, because it's like, full measures answer the question. It's like, what if you just got rid of the guy? How much more fucked up would the world be? Matter of fact, the comic book Invincible is all about full measures.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what if you had a whole superhero landscape that was populated with people who just straight up murked people? Mm-hmm. It's like, what is the power creep to that kind of situation? This is like, you get rid of one threat that seems kind of small compared to someone who's like literally trying to commit genocide.
But where do you draw the line?
Exactly, and that's where the story is. And that's what I like about Moon Knight, because it's like, at what point do you draw the line? Where do your morals fall?
Yeah.
And Moon Knight is so ambiguous. It's like, sometimes you want to root for him, but at the same time, it's like, he's kind of fucked up.
Like, somebody litters, are you going to kill him for littering?
Like, keep in mind, like 4 or 5 issues back, he literally imprisoned a guy inside of steel and concrete.
Yeah.
That dude's still aware and still very much alive.
I remember
he's
that.
Damn near immortal. But he's stuck.
Yeah.
That's his eternity.
He's stuck with himself forever.
But yeah, this book, where we last left off, Hunter's Moon was dealing with the Grand Mal and the other person who doesn't fucking matter. Hunter's Moon got murdered. He was murdered by him. But keep in mind, Hunter's Moon is a Fist of Khonshu. It's Moon Knight's brother, essentially. And guess what happens to a Fist of Khonshu? They don't die. So Moon Knight tricks him into the Midnight Mission, and keep in mind the Midnight Mission was replaced with pretty much Baba Yaga's house. So
okay,
yeah, it is capable of creating its own hell for those who dare invade it.
Does it have chicken feet?
It doesn't have chicken feet, but man, like,
can it move though?
It can move.
Okay.
Yes, it can warp reality in its space of itself, because Moon Knight befriended it instead of killing it or getting rid of it.
So TARDIS meets Baba Yaga.
Yeah, TARDIS meets Baba Yaga. That is what the current Midnight Mission is. He lures those two in there and pretty much subjects them to their own personal hells, and it is fucking fantastic. And then at the end of it, it's like Hunter's Moon is revealed to have been revived, and he stands in judgment. So at the same time you got that happening, you got the big vampire meetup going on, and that's where you're like the tutor, his organization. Yeah. And they're talking about how they're trying to implement a modern vampire takeover. And it's a pyramid multi-level marketing scheme, you know. Of
course.
But for vampirism. And instead of cloaks, we're going to wear, you know, like flannel button downs and, you know, handlebar mustaches, you know. We're just going to hipster this shit.
Hipster vampires.
And that's when you get the villains who had tried to kill Moon Knight and murdered Hunter's Moon temporarily. They crash the party, and that's when Moon Knight shows up, and he's accompanied by Tigress. And I love the last panel of this book, because this is the only book I'm going to actually take out tonight. But the last panel is so fucking great, and I feel like you should be shown. But yes, it is Tigress,
that's pretty dope.
Tigra, and
that's
and
badass looking. I want that suit.
Yeah, that is nice.
Oh my god, the art from Cappuccio is just amazing. It's like he does extra cross hatching. But anyway, that is Moon Knight, and I look forward to seeing where this story goes. Like I said, Moon Knight, this is book of the year for me.